Are they just giving up and just writing down names now? What's happening here? This is I'm looking at these notes that I made while I was watching this show, and I'm like they are burying everyone in seas of groups, aren't they? 8-man tag, 6-man tag.
That's always been a problem with Tony's booking, yeah.
So they started out the program with the All-Star 8-man tag, which is a gimmick that we used to do in Ring of Honor, where for a special DVD that we would shoot in Dayton, Ohio or whatever, you'd have the singles champion, the TV champion, the tag team champion against their top challengers. And it's a cold match as an attraction for a DVD release, right? So they decide to lead off with the show with Mark Briscoe. None of these people are champions, by the way. Just it's an all-star because they say they're stars. Mark Briscoe, Kevin Knight, Hong Kong Phooey, and Kenny versus Ricochet, the Buckaroos, and their friend O'Sleepy. And after the 7 minutes of entrances, they decided to go another 27 minutes. And random observations I have. Who is the audience for Hong Kong Phooey? He's too much of a little sissy-looking, grinny nerd for a male to like him, but it would seem to be as appealing to the opposite sex as a yeast infection. So who is and a real martial arts fan like a Bruce Lee fan or whatever would think, well, let's look at this little fucking twit. So what's the audience for this guy, Brian?
People who are really into athleticism, and, he could do flips, and he also has his own unique kicks, and that's what it takes. The commentators are yelling at us how big guys don't matter anymore. Weights don't matter anymore. These are the most exciting people. Like, they really made a point to point that out, as ludicrous as it sounded, on commentary here while the fans sat there. And then every now and then they'd break into a chant. You're like, oh, okay, they are into it. And then it would go dead silent again.
Well, you watched a lot more of this thing than I did because I knew what it was going to be like. But I did see that the entrance of the Buckaroos sounded like that somebody had gone and unplugged the crowd microphones. They did, again, as I said, 7 minutes of entrances. And the first thing they did was try to do the arm pump spot, the old Midnight Express arm pump spot. But they didn't know how to set it up. They didn't know the timing of it. They didn't know the execution of it. The guy didn't know how to sell it. And they didn't really know how to properly work the payoff as to not make the whole thing look just like they're fucking doing it all on purpose. But they tried. And I said, I'm going to fast forward to see how long this thing is. And then I started to get fascinated with how long it was going on fast forward, and it still wouldn't be over. Half an hour of Panic at the Playground. I saw somebody on Twitter say, I wonder what Cornette's going to say about last night's circle jerk. That's what I'm sure the children had a wonderful fucking time. And it would have probably taken me 3 hours to notate what was wrong with it from a professional wrestling standpoint, and then about as long to tell you. So I'm going to save everybody that time because the people involved, besides Mark Briscoe, wouldn't learn anything anyway. So what are we trying to do here? Trying to lead a horse to water that won't drink.
And it's amazing how many of the things that the big indie / Young Buck fans used to really love just seem old hat at this point. The spot where, I'm giving them credit for it because they did it the most, but other people have done it too, where if it's an 8-man match, one after another, one guy runs in to get a move, and then another guy, like, they time it out perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
First time you see that, maybe able to react to it, it's coin of the realm now. It doesn't stand out, and, we'll talk about the ratings later, but I would say if there was any way to drive off your audience right out of the gate, this is the match I'd put on.
Well,
It's tone deaf. It's tone deaf because you have people there who fans will react to. I think more people would be interested in a Ricochet segment or an Omega segment than just a long, endless match with dead silence at times.
With guys just in a group, you can an random 8-man tag team match like this, when they're moving that quick, you can't even fucking keep track visually or mentally who's on whose side at some points. But besides that, again, you've got a couple of stars potentially buried in this. Ricochet, they're trying to do something with. Kenny is one of the more popular baby faces, and for some reason, their crowd still likes the fucking lazy Japanese guy. But they're just covered up and buried, and they're all just doing moves over and over. And it looks like the Ed Sullivan Show with the acrobatic troupe, as you mentioned, when one guy will stand there and the other guy runs and they do the move, and then the other guy runs, they do the move, and it's just ridiculous.
It's more like the guy spinning plates.
But yeah,
again, I think this is where Tony Khan's booking is tone deaf. He takes things and people and he just throws them all together in this mess of a match, which the hardcore fan of AEW who never admitted anything was wrong until well after the fact, even when they were watching it, they may like this kind of match. But this match is a major disconnect. Watching this match and just thinking about the world of WWE, and I'm not really high on WWE right now. It's like it looks so amateur hour. This specific match
if you put it up against any territory wrestling match, it would still look amateur. It looks amateur because it's amateur. It's children playing wrestler and doing funny spots and cool moves, so that people will appreciate how good they are at performing this fake shit.
And again, we'll talk about the ratings later, but at some point, I'd really love if someone has time to do a serious look, I think the Young Bucks may be guilty of driving off more fans than like anyone else in modern wrestling. Like every segment they're on, specific things they were involved in, like airing that Punk footage, they drive away audience. And the more you feature them, and the more smug they act, because they've got the money. They've got the money, and they could just seemingly jerk off all over their own faces on TV. But there isn't an audience for it, and they drive away people. And
well, that's the thing, is because even with some of these other fucking clowns, because Kenny's a nice guy and he has pets or whatever, or even Hong Kong Phooey, maybe he does volunteer work somewhere. He's an inoffensive type of person. But everybody's caught up to the fact that the fucking Buckaroos are two little smarmy douchebags. They're they're not likable people. It is not, they're playing themselves on television. They are little smarmy fucking twits. And they've done
get away with that. You can get away with that when you draw. You can get away with that when you could sell t-shirts.
Well, yes, but that's what I'm saying, is that their fans like these other baby faces, even though they don't really do a good job of getting themselves over to begin with in the ring or whatever. Well, we like them. They're nice guys, but these two, everything's wrong with them, and they're not likable in any personal way either. So that's why it's like, what the fuck? Why are these children allowed to play on this television show to a lot of people? And it's just ridiculous. They're visually ridiculous, and they've made themselves ridiculous, and not in a likable way.
And if you're a long-term viewer of this show, you see them as the walking embodiment of all the problems with AEW.
Yeah, it's come out in the press, how many stupid backstage things they've been involved in to run off real talent and etc. So, yeah, now people are holding their nose and turning their head when they come out.